you very much, Audrey. And good morning to all of you. Welcome. I hope that you're almost all here. Maybe some of you are meditating close to the ocean. We're very happy to be here again this year for this edition of Positive Economy. And I remember we had a first experience last year, but this is becoming now a habit in this Positive Economy session. And this is one of the requests of Jacques Attali. Now, just before we start, we're not going to dance. We're going to meditate, which is rather different. I would like to introduce Inken Deschaux. Inken Deschaux, who we call the Mary Poppins of mindfulness. So she is our Mary Poppins for mindfulness. And I'm Dominique Bretou. And what do we intend to do throughout this session? Well, it's just to help you to see, to hear, and to understand and experiment what mindfulness is. And with one only sentence, I would like to define what this is all about, because maybe you're asking yourselves, what is the link between mindfulness and positive economy? But I'm going to try to answer to that question with one quote: I feel well and the world is getting better. And maybe we can start, close our eyes for a few minutes, and just listen to this sentence. I'm feeling well and the world is getting better.
Notre conviction.
We feel very strongly about the fact that there is a deep link between our personal behavior and what is going on in our environment, even though we have to be more responsible in terms of consumption, even though we have to have social companies which are more sustainable instead of being based on profit. So we all have to be very much aware of the fact that we must take care of ourselves, because to take care of oneself and feel better, and I think that through this practice it's possible. There's nothing new about this, but the non-religious form this takes is a new path which paves the way to more presence. That is to say, we feel better with respect to ourselves. We know what our anxieties can be, what the dark part of our personality is, but we can find a balance, and we can also probably use this positive energy in the environment we're in. And this is a strong conviction. I feel very strongly about this, but I think that science has demonstrated this. We have scientific studies, experiments, which clearly show that people who meditate, people who have this mindfulness, have a more positive set of mind. And we're not asking these people to become responsible. They are responsible because they have this mindfulness process going on. And I think that this is a issue we have to devote more thought to. So to feel well and think that the world is getting better. So this is something we have to do to start with. Just before we have all these debates and discussions, we're going to have a testimony. Yves Le Bihan, who presides the French Institute for French Politics, and he will tell us more about his own personal practice and what he does with managers and with companies. And then Niken will tell us more about the practice and how we can practice mindfulness. So I fully support what Dominique has said. I think that this is a very joyful practice, and I'm very happy to be here because this is a wonderful opportunity to contribute to this awareness concerning mindfulness and positive economy. Meditation is something I feel is very invaluable. This is something we need if we want to build a positive economy. But just before we start meditating all together, we will now give the floor to Yves Le Bihan.
Bonjour à toutes.
Good morning. Well, to start with, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Jacques Attali and all his team because he's given me this wonderful opportunity to be here, and I would like to thank you for your generosity and for being here this morning and sharing this with me. I'm an explorer. This is how I feel about myself. I'm an explorer of what I would call human potential. But of course, it's something very special I'm exploring because I'm trying to understand what is the complex role of our leaders, of our managers. I've had the wonderful opportunity of accompanying leaders and managers throughout the world. And now we have an association which is called the French Institute for Positive Leadership. That means that with leaders, with philosophers, with teachers, professors, we're trying to find a new model of leadership and a new model for managing or management. When I started thinking about what I would say today, I started thinking about Anaé, who will start working in 2025. And the first question which popped up in my mind is, what are we talking about when we speak of the labor environment? What do we want to give to our children and to future generations as a heritage? What are the skills? What are the values our leaders and our managers will need in 20 or even before that, 10 years from now? My personal point of view is that we have to rethink our leadership models and the models of our companies, the way we manage them. In our French Institute for Positive Leadership, we have a specific vision. We envisage a new social and economic model which is more fulfilling, which is also more efficient, but it's also more virtuous, and it has more respect with respect to the environment. We believe that this is a model of leadership which is a path for the future. Now, I would like to tell you something I'm very concerned about. I've been working on an issue, well, I've been thinking about an issue for more than 9 years now. Why do all our leaders manage so poorly and themselves? And they ask very much to all the people they work with, but how come they're not more demanding with respect to their own mode of management? So this means that we have to try to find ways of changing the organizational patterns. This is what they want to do, but they don't do it for themselves. So one of the things that I have observed, and this is something that has been giving me more optimism, is that some people do change what they do through a practice, a positive practice that they can develop. This doesn't come as a surprise, because this is an approach that I've been going through personally and which has changed things. The Siddhartha, the Hermanus, was the book I read for very many years. And I think that this is a spiritual quest that I've been going through. This is something which is very deeply rooted within me. That is to say, the need for mindfulness on an everyday practice. It's an everyday practice I feel very strongly about. And I would like to highlight two main advantages. And I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I would like to share this with you. Two benefits or two things which I think are main assets for our managers and leaders. The first advantage of mindfulness and positive set of mind is what I would call integrity, authenticity. And the second asset is to be able to feel sympathy for other people. That is to say, the Toshiba manager has been going through fraudulent practices for more than many years, with $6 billion lost just because he wanted to have honorable results and he wanted to be efficient. And I'm maybe too optimistic when saying this, but I think that this leader maybe should have been more contemplative before taking some of the decisions he took, because I think that full awareness of what we do helps us to feel more strongly how we feel with our hearts, and also steers up what we have in the depth of ourselves and also helps us to understand why we're here. I also know, but this is another case, a French manager leader who meditates every day and who's very much concerned about the mental health and the health, the well-being, the fulfillment of the people he works with. He takes care of himself, but I think that it's not the case today for other leaders, and I think we should have more people doing this. Now, the other advantage is feeling compassionate for oneself, but also for other people. This is something we don't do usually in our society. And why should we feel compassionate for ourselves? Jack Kornfield has been a pioneer, and he said in one of his works, if you don't include yourself in this compassion you feel for the world, for the environment, for other people, if you don't have this self-compassion, and if you don't feel compassionate for yourself, then it's going to be a real problem. You have to feel indulgent. You have to be understanding with respect to yourself. Less criticism and more compassion helps our leaders to be more understanding, to feel more optimistic, but also to feel more human. And I think that this is something we can all be convinced about. I am profoundly convinced that this is important, and I think that full awareness throughout different organizations is now developing. For instance, in English-speaking countries, I would like to quote the example of BlackRock, which is very emblematic, where we have 12,000 persons and where they have a program of mindfulness which has been developed. 90% of the people have been supporting this, and many of these people believe that they feel less stressed. Now, how can we do this, especially when we have environments which are so technical? In this case, I'm speaking of a financial environment, but it is possible. I think this is a practice that we can embed in our everyday life. What do we do here in France, which is a very rational country, as we have philosophers like Descartes? Well, we've been developing our own scientific research as to know how we can work on mindfulness, positive approaches in our management, in our organizations. So we need more emotional flexibility. We need more capacity to think about ourselves and other people. And we have to be able to do this if we really want to center our activity on what is really important in our professional environment. But I think that this generates very many benefits. And I would like to conclude by saying a few words. Well, to start with, by saying that I am profoundly convinced that positive economy means that we need positive leadership, means that we need fully aware leaders, people who know that they can develop a new economic model which will be more sustainable, which will take into consideration what is going on, what we have to do for our children, for future generations. I hope that Maïdar Ané will also be more trustful as our future generations, and I hope that this will be the case for all of us. Thank you very much.
Donc voilà, on va accueillir à nouveau Dominique.
So, Dominique Lincoln, who is our specialist here for mindfulness and meditation. Well, I hope that you feel fully inspired, because now we're going to start all together this meditation. Sit comfortably, feel at ease with your back straight, but also in a flexible posture, like when you're trying to find the right tune of a musical instrument. That is to say, the good posture, the one that reflects your presence. You can also move very slightly your shoulders, just so as to breathe more deeply. I don't know how you feel on your seats, but you don't have to recline on your seats. If it's a more comfortable position, well, put your hands on your thighs or just on your knees. So place your hands like that, as I'm doing, And either you close very slightly your eyes, or you try to see what's going on inside you instead of looking outside to the outer world. This moment of meditation is just for you. It's fully yours. And I would recommend this practice with indulgence, that is to say, try to feel at the very best. Also feel curious. Try to understand what is going on. That means you have to try to feel positive and try to see if you are feeling positive. Well, in the background of this conference hall, there are different energies which are circulating. We can start by thinking about the physical energy and try to feel the different contacts we have with the ground, for instance, our feet, but also how we have a contact with the seat we're sitting on. And just try to understand how you feel physically now at this very moment. My feet, my legs, all my body, my chest, my shoulders, my hands, my arms, all my body, and the contact of my hands on my legs, my thighs, my head. How is my face at this very moment? Without any kind of judgment. I think that what we have to do, very simply, is just accept how we are this morning. That is to say, we're only a body which feels relaxed, restored by a night's sleep, full of energy that we can feel. Maybe you feel also tiredness because there are tensions within your body, but full awareness or mindfulness means that we know how we feel and we accept it. There's no judgment. There's nothing you want to change or you have to change during mindfulness. The only thing you have to do is just be as you are. Concentrate on your breathing. Just feel the flow of the air going through your nostrils. Just be in contact with the breathing and the air flowing through your chest. But always feeling positively curious about what is going on within your own body, in your chest, the air which is flowing through your lungs and your chest. And then you just breathe normally. You can feel the breathing also in the chest, where there is a specific movement at the diaphragm level. It's something very natural, very spontaneous. You just try to feel how breathing takes place and see if you can feel all these movements when you're inspiring and expiring. Just have natural breathing going on and just move along with the tidal wave of breathing.
Et si vous vous sentez distrait,
And if you feel that you've been distracted by noises or noises that can be outside or inside noises, or because you just have thoughts going through your mind, well, just start breathing or continue breathing naturally. It is an important moment to be closer to one's inner self. Feel your body, your inner house. There's nothing special you have to do. You don't have to succeed in doing anything special. It's just feeling the way one is. Maybe we can also pay more attention to our mood. What is the tone of our mood? What is the specific pattern of our mood at that very precise moment of mindfulness? It's a kind of, it's like if we were analyzing our moods. We have a whole series of colors. Do I feel happy? Do I feel curious? Do I feel excited? Because we're going to have very exciting debates. Or maybe I feel tired. Maybe I feel a bit sad, or maybe I feel a bit angry. And in that case, what we have to try to do is to accept that mood. We have a full rainbow of different colors, which are our moods, and this is what we have to try to ascertain, but there's no judgment, as I said before. And during the very last minutes of mindfulness, what I suggest you can do is just remain silent so as to feel the overall unity of your body, the mood, the physical state you are in at that very precise moment. And maybe throughout the day, from time to time, you can remember what your body is all about and the breathing which takes place, and sometimes be aware of this breathing and mindfulness. This is just the end, and I would like to say a few words of Will Whitman. I would like to quote in his poetry, Walt Whitman said, "I'm bigger than what I thought. I didn't know that there was so much goodness within me. I'm much more than what I thought I am." thank you for being here, and I hope that you will have a very fruitful day.